such a time as this.
And welcome back to For Such a Time as This. I'm your host, Pastor James Pittman, here with another installment of the book of Revelation. As we saw last time, chapters 2 and 3 were epochs of the church that went through. And so now we get to chapter 4, and I think it is a bridge between the epochs of the church, chapters 2 and 3, and then you get to chapters 4 through 19, which are loops. Now let me just explain this. Loops are different perspectives of the same time period. Okay? And I'll show you how each loop begins and ends. And here's how Revelation connects chapters 2 and 3, and then the next section, 4 through 19. Revelation 4. After this, after what? After the 7 epochs of the church. After this, John says, I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven, and the first voice which I had heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this. After what? After the 7 time periods, I believe, of the church. And so now you've transitioned from the epochs of the church to the actual loops. And the loops are going to explain the next 7 years, Daniel's 70th week, what we call the 7-year tribulation. But before we get there, want to show where the throne scenes come from. In Revelation, you see a lot of thrones, and it's built directly off of Daniel. Look at Daniel 7:9. Daniel is speaking, As I looked, thrones were placed, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was white as snow, and his hair of his head like pure wool. Drop down to verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, there came one like the Son of Man, and he came to the Ancient of Days, and was presented before him. So now you see the Son of Man, the title, one of Jesus's favorite titles, Son of Man, coming to the Ancient of Days, which clearly is the Father, right? Presented to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. Verse 14, and to him, the Son of Man, to him was given dominion, glory, a kingdom that all peoples, nations, and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom one that shall not be destroyed. And so those are throne scenes you see throughout the second part of Daniel. Okay. And now we're going to see these throne scenes also represented in Revelation. And so in Revelation 4, we get a throne scene, and which I believe is the beginning and the end. So here we go. Revelation 4:2. At once I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne stood in heaven, with one seated on the throne. And he who sat there had the appearance of jasper and cornelian. And I believe the end of this loop, Revelation 4:11, it ends in a song. Worthy are you, our Lord and God, to receive glory and honor and power. For you created all things, and by your will they existed and were created. And so I believe it opens in a throne series, a throne scene. It ends with praise to Jesus sitting on the throne. And so that's the loop. So what I'm going to do is play these loops and then play highlights from the loop and do my best to put flesh on the bones. I won't be able to get to everything, so it's up to you to read the book. But I'm going to give you the skeleton. But here's the one, and this is probably the shortest loop. But here's the one that I want to add. I think it's significant. Revelation 4:5. From the throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings and peals of thunder. And before the throne were burning 7 torches fire, which were the 7 spirits of God. In the book of Revelation, when is the last time we saw the 7 spirit of God's? And what were they? They were the 7 Spirit to the churches. And so, are they on earth with the church anymore? No. All 7 of them are now in heaven. And I believe at the end of chapter 3, the church age ends. The 70th week of Daniel begins. All 7 spirits of the church, go back to chapter 1, we went over this. He says the 7 spirits or the 7 ministers to the church, they're no longer there. In Revelation 4, we see all 7 spirits around the throne. The church age has ended. The grafting back in, the meshing of the Jews and the Gentiles has begun, which we call the 7-year tribulation. This is going to be fun. Stay with us as we go through the book of Revelation, chapter by chapter, and give explanation on the prophecy of the end days. God bless.
For such a time as this,